At the age of 9, a teacher pointed to me in front of the whole class and said, "That's the boy with the broken brain." So every time I did badly on a test, a quiz, an exam, I would always say, "Oh, because I have the broken brain." I couldn't read when I was a kid for a few years. That was my brain injury. And I taught myself how to read by reading comic books.
So at what point did you start to work out how to learn? Because one of the reasons I love you so much is I can relate to your story. I got a couple of brain injuries. At the age of 7 or 8, I was diagnosed as learning disabled. Dyslexic, ADHD, but took me longer to learn. And I never actually read a book until the age of 23. And I remember reading it and finishing it in like 2 days. And first of all, I was like, fuck, I finished the book. And second, I was like, wow, I can actually remember what I read. Maybe I'm not stupid because I've been given that broken brain, like that stupid label. I'm curious, did you have one of those moments where all of a sudden you went, maybe I don't have a broken brain? Do you remember that?
When I was 18, I was lucky to get into a university. I wanted to be a good example for my younger siblings, and I was doing worse, so I was ready to quit. A friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm going to go home for the weekend. Why don't you come with me and get some perspective?" And so I agreed to go, and the father's walking me around his property and asked me a very innocent question, which is the worst question you could ask me at that time is, "How's school?" And I just break down emotionally right in front of this stranger.
Wow.
And I tell him my whole story, brain injury, boy with a broken brain, school's not for me. He said, "Jim, why are you in school?" Honestly did not have an answer because nobody's ever asked me that question before. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And he pulls out of a journal out of his back pocket and tears out a couple of sheets and makes me write it down. When I'm done, grabs them right out of my hand and he's just reading them. And when he's done, he looks up and he says, "Jim, you are this close to everything on that list." And I'm thinking, no way, give me 10 lifetimes. I'm not going to crack that list. And he takes his fingers and he puts them to the side of my head, meaning that what's in between my brain is the key. And he takes me into a room of his home, wall to wall, ceiling to floor, covered in books.
Oh my God.
And it's like being in a room full of snakes, if you're afraid of snakes. It's like very intimidating. And what makes it worse is he starts going to the shelves and grabbing snakes and handing them to me. And I'm holding all these books. And he says, "Jim, I want you to read one book a week." And I always tell people, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. And I'm arguing for how stupid I am. And I said, "I can't read all this. I have schoolwork." He said, "Jim, don't let school get in the way of your education." I didn't realize it was a Mark Twain quote. And I was like, that's very insightful.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I can't commit to doing that. And very smart man, he reaches into his pocket and he takes out my dreams. And he starts to read every single one of my goals out loud. And something, Kerwin, about hearing your deepest dreams out of somebody else's voice, it messed with my mind, my heart. And a lot of the things on that list were things I wanted to do for my family. We talked about the power of perspective. We talked about the power of questions to help us be unstoppable. And another thing that makes you unstoppable is having a reason. Because I believe reasons reap rewards, reasons reap results. I offer this to everyone who's listening. It's like we all have things that we're putting off or things that we know we should do, but we procrastinate or we sabotage. And one of the things that could help you get out of that is a different perspective, getting around different people, also different questions. Like, here's a question. Who's counting on you right now to be unstoppable? You know, as Simon Sinek talks about, start with why. I had my reasons. For me, it was my family. And so with that leverage and that motivation, understanding my purpose that he was reading out to me, and I agreed to read one book a week. And so now fast forward, I have a pile of books I have to read for school and a pile of books I promise to read. So I don't eat, I don't sleep, I don't work out, I don't spend time with friends. I just live in the library. Months of this, I end up passing out of sheer exhaustion in the library. I fell down a flight of stairs. I hit my head again.
Oh, shit.
And I woke up 2 days later in the hospital.
Wow.
And I thought there has to be a better way. And when I had that thought, the nurse came in with a mug, and on it was a quote that said, "The same level of thinking that's created your problem won't solve your problem." And it made me ask a new question, like, how do I think differently about this problem? I was like, well, what's my problem? My problem is I'm a very slow learner. How do I think differently about it? Well, maybe I could learn how to learn faster. And my first answer was, oh, I could learn it from school. So I asked the nurse to bring me a course bulletin with all the classes for next semester. And they're all classes on what to learn, but not how to learn. I really wanted to solve this riddle about How does my brain work so I could work my brain? How does memory work so I could work my memory? When people see me at events and I do these demonstrations, people stand up and I memorize the first few rows of names. I always tell people, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's possible. Because the truth is, everyone who's listening to this could do that and a lot more. But we have these limits that we don't realize that we have that have been imprinted on us. These lies that we've been told. We are limitless, but we have to go through a process of unlimiting ourselves. It's like a verb, constantly unlearning bad
Constantly
habits.
removing the speed limiter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm doing it today is because I couldn't help but help other people.
Yeah.
Because I was really angry that I struggled for a decade and a half thinking I was a loser, thinking I wasn't smart, thinking I had no potential or personal worth, when there were simple things that we could have done to be able to activate those parts of our brain. I realized that it's not about, some of you listening are asking yourself how smart you are, how smart your kids are, how smart your team is. It's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart.